In light of this year's theme of peace building, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what peace means to me and how I envision it for the world. Ironically, I learned my most important lesson about peace from a conflict I had years ago. When I was 15, I became very close friends with this kid named Joe at summer camp in West Milford, New Jersey. We spent early June to late July hiking the Appalachian Trail and biking several miles through the beautiful Amish countryside of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. One cool evening after dinner, Joe and I sat by the campfire, and as usual, we're just chatting about our lives and our families. We somehow segued onto the topic of religion, which was a new territory of discussion between us. As I shared with Joe my Christian faith, I suddenly noticed his face grow more stern and his body more defensive. Finally, I asked, "What about you?" I waited for his response as he stared straight ahead into the distance. After an awkward pause, he blurted out, "I hate God." I froze. After gaining the courage to speak again, I incredulously asked, "Why?" "Because," he responded, "God is stupid." Did he just say that? I was terrified because I had never heard anyone say something as bold as this. In that instant, everything I thought I knew about the world collapsed, leaving me feeling empty and lost. Yet the only two motivators left in me were fear and anger. "You can't say that," I yelled as I leaped over and physically attacked Joe. Our camp counselor quickly rushed over and pulled me away as tears streamed down my face. For the rest of camp, we avoided each other as bitter enemies until the last day when our counselor mediated a conversation for us to formally apologize to each other. Though I was reluctant, my counselor prompted me to do the hardest thing in this type of situation, to listen. And when I did, I learned the real reason why Joe said those words. His older brother and grandfather, two of the most important figures in his life, had recently passed away. Their death left him with an immense amount of pain, which subsequently fueled his anger towards God. I heard his story and began to understand and sympathize with him. By the end of our conversation, we apologized to each other for our hurtful words, made peace, and became friends once again. Brian Stevenson, a prolific criminal justice lawyer and social justice activist, said in a recent talk, "Fear and anger are the ingredients of injustice in the world." I learned from this experience that when fear and anger are working together, they are terribly destructive. Had I invested in the opportunity to further capitalize on my fear and anger, I would have allowed hate to consume me. But taking that initial step in listening allowed me to experience its transformative power, which has now become the most essential tool for me as a steward of peace. Fast forwarding years later, in my junior year at the College of New Jersey, I had the opportunity to take a course called American Short Stories 101. Now the title speaks for itself, which may not seem compelling at first, but here's the catch. Once a week, my class and I would head out into the rural farmlands of Bordentown, New Jersey, where we learned how to write and narrate our own short stories inside the walls of the Albert C. Wagner Youth Correctional Facility. That's right. The other half of my class were inmates in prison. When I first told my friends and family about this course, naturally I got responses like, "It's an all-male prison. Those guys are dangerous. Aren't you scared?" To be quite honest, I was a little scared, but I'll tell you the real reason why I wanted to take this course. I needed to listen, once again, to recognize their humanity. I needed to hear their stories to begin to understand their experience because I was caught up in the danger of the single story. To give you a little background on myself, I was born and raised in the South Bronx section of the Bronx, New York. My family and I later moved to Irvington, New Jersey. These cities I was raised in are your classic American ghettos. where the marginalized minorities of this country reside. But for too long, our narrative as Black and brown people has been displaced by wild speculations from the media, mostly depicting us as dangerous, criminal, and hostile. As a child, I was forced to accept this disheartening narrative. So growing up, I was in constant fear of my own neighborhoods and the people who lived in them due to this dangerous single story. But despite what the media portrays, from my perspective, places such as the South Bronx and Irvington are progressive and lively. They are the cultural epicenters, especially due to their immigrant populations. When my parents immigrated from Ghana, West Africa, my mother worked in the hospital while my father was a yellow cab driver. Every day, I saw them push 15 to 16-hour shifts to support our family. They represented the hardworking people doing their best to survive with the resources they had. It's simply inspirational to be around such energy. Overall, the prison course allowed me to engage with a new narrative. I was able to capture the essence of the shared lived experiences between the inmates and I because honestly, they came from places I come from. They had parents like mine who worked hard. They desired to go to school. They desired to be successful. But our broken criminal justice system makes it almost impossible for us to believe that. But I've learned through my experiences that from just listening to each other, we can break down the walls of fear and anger. Listening allows us to engage in conversations that would help us build positive relationships to strengthen and maintain our communities. And this is what peace means to me. I am humbled to be a part of FCNL because here we put faith to action. What unifies us, you and I, is our belief that the social injustices of our present day can actually be solved using peaceful, communicative strategies that will sustain our world for the future. I know that through FCNL, I will learn what I can do to help make a positive impact for change today and tomorrow forward. Thank you.